Hi guys, this is the second recording going over the second packet. This one's much shorter. It's just review. I gave you guys a copy of the notes. These are just all the laws of exponent rules and stuff because we are going to need to know what we're going to have to utilize these quite a bit. And then here we have some examples of using the product rule, the quotient rule, then negative exponent rule, and things like that. And I have some simpler ways to do some of these, but hopefully that looks familiar to you guys. Okay, so I wanted to make sure you guys had access to some notes and some examples. And then also how to put things in a polynomial in standard form, writing things in decreasing and descending order, and classifying polynomials as constants, linear, quadratic, cubic, quartic, and quintic, and the number of terms, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Monomial, binomial, trinomial, polynomial. So a lot of this stuff is going to be very familiar. Some of this stuff may not be, but don't worry about it. Just make a note of it. And then I wanted to kind of take you through some examples. Now, this first page is just some real simplification. I don't want to spend too much time on it. So what I'm going to do is leave this blank for now, but go over some of these combining like terms and putting things in standard form. So I'm going to start with 13 and 14 and actually move to the problems on the back and work through as much of those first. And if I have some extra time, again, I don't like to make my videos more than like 20 minutes. We'll do some more. So we'll probably get through a lot of this. So if you just watch the video, you'll be in good shape. So one of the things that I always do is when I'm combining like terms, I want to make sure that I line up my like terms. And a lot of times I use highlighters or pens or pencils just to make sure that it's easier for me to keep things straight. Now, as you guys get stronger and stronger in math, you're probably not going to need to do that. But I'm going to show you what I do because as you probably have seen that I make a lot of mistakes, and I want to make sure that I don't do that when I'm doing these. So when I'm subtracting, the first thing I do is I change the signs of everything in here. So I'm going to write this guy in standard form, so meaning the highest exponent first, and then I'm going to line up the other ones around it, because then if I do that from the get-go, then I'm in pretty good shape. So I have negative 6x to the fourth, and then I have a positive 8x to the third, and I have a positive 3. Now, if I had more terms like squared terms or terms with a degree of 1, I would actually leave space on my top one so that I could line everything up correctly. So what I'm going to do here is I have 8x to the fourth, right? So I'm going to change the sign of this to a negative 8x to the fourth. And then this turns into a negative 3x to the third. And this turns into a positive 3. So when you're adding and subtracting, remember that your exponents do not change at all. The only thing that changes is the coefficients that are right, which are the numbers that are right in front of the variables. Okay, so negative 6 minus 8 is negative 16, x to the fourth, right? And 8 minus 3 is a positive 5, x to the third, and then 3 plus 3 is 6. Okay, that one's not too bad. This one's a little bit scarier. So I'm going to go in decreasing order of A's and then B's, right? So to do this, I have 4a to the fourth, and I have 2a squared, and there's no a here. So this one's actually going to be my first term, okay? So this will be 4a to the fourth b squared, and then plus 2a squared b, and then minus 5b cubed. Now it looks like all these are repeated, so again, I'm going to do the same thing. So this turns into a negative 7b cubed, so that goes under here. And then negative 8a to the fourth b squared. Be mindful, too, that if these didn't have the same exponents, they would not be like terms, so you'd have to separate them. So be very mindful of that. And this becomes positive 7a squared b. And then I line them up and combine like terms. So I have negative 4a to the fourth b squared plus 9a squared b minus 12b cubed. Okay? Not too bad, hopefully. Again, one of the hints is to kind of write the first term in standard form and then line up the other terms that correspond with it. Make sure you leave room for extra terms. Pay attention to that. You kind of want to map it out before you start so that you don't mess anything up. Okay, so moving to this, we are going to do some multiplication. Now, when the commutative property of multiplication says that we can change the order of how we multiply things, and it's not going to change the result, which is totally fine. So I'm going to just go from left to right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply this negative 3x by these two things here. So this is going to be negative 15x squared. Please remember to add these. Remember that becomes an x squared, not an x. And then minus 3x. And now I'm going to multiply it by 8 minus 2x. All right. So I'm going to double distribute here, but I'm going to start with distributing this guy into here first. Okay. So negative 2x times negative 15x squared is a positive 30x to the third. And then I have negative 2x times negative 3x, that's a positive 6x squared. Okay, then I'm going to distribute the 8. 8 times 15, and this is x squared because there's no other x, so 8 times 15 is, I think, 120. Yep, so that's plus, minus 120 x squared. Be really careful of your signs. And then this is minus 24x. Now, do you notice how I lined up my like terms? It just makes life a lot easier. Okay, so this is 30x cubed minus 114x squared minus 24x. Okay? So let's keep moving on. Yeah, we have plenty of time. I'm going to move through at least these 6 problems. Okay? Again, if at any point you want to just pause the video and check how you did afterwards and do these problems yourself, please do. This is just for your benefit. You don't have to walk through it step by step. And what's nice about a video is you can turn it off whenever you get tired of listening to me. So it's totally fine. So I'm going to distribute a into here and here first. So I get 3a squared minus a times b, right? So that's a 1 in front of that a times b. And I do that because when I'm combining like terms, sometimes I mess things up and I want to be really careful. So now I'm going to distribute the b. So this is plus 3a times b. And then this is minus b squared. So I get 3a squared plus 2 times a times b minus b squared. Now I've done 1. I have one more to do. So I'm going to now distribute the 2a and 7b into here. So first things first, I'm going to do the 2a, so that's 6a to the third plus 4a squared b minus 2ab squared. Now I'm going to distribute the 7b. So this is going to be 21a squared b. So 21a squared b. This is going to be 14ab squared plus 14ab squared. And this is minus 7b cubed. And again, do you see how I lined everything up? Makes things so much easier. Okay? So I have 6a cubed plus 25a squared b plus 12ab squared. So remember, the big thing that people forget to do is that you only add exponents when you're multiplying. So once you get down to adding and subtracting, you don't change your exponents at all. Okay? So minus 7b cubed. Okay, now before I do this, subtract these two things, I'm going to cube this. Now that's a pain in the tuchus, but we're going to go ahead and do it. So 1 minus 2n cubed. So I'm multiplying that by, 1 minus 2n quantity cubed. I'm going to square it first and then multiply it again. So I'm going to do 1 minus 2n times 1 minus 2n. So that gives me 1 minus 2n plus 4n squared. So that's 1 minus 4n plus 4n squared times 1 minus 2n again. This is a pain in the butt. So that becomes 1 minus 4n plus 4n squared. And this becomes minus 2n plus 8n squared minus 8n to the third. Okay, so I get 1 minus 6n plus 12n squared minus 8n to the third. Now that's just this part. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to distribute this and I'm going to line this up. So I'm going to write this right here. 1, you know what I'll do is I'll write it in, I'm going to write this in standard form. So I have negative 8n cubed plus 12n squared minus 6n plus 1. So when I multiply these, I'm going to put them right underneath the like terms. And I'm going to use this negative 7. So negative 7 times n squared is negative 7n cubed. And this is going to be plus 14n. So that way I'm able to line up my like terms. So I get negative 15n cubed plus 12n squared plus 8n plus 1. That was a pain, but we did it. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and just distribute this 4, and then I'll distribute that product. So this is 8 minus 12w. And I'm going to multiply that by w squared minus 2w plus 10. Now, I'm going to do something a little strange. I'm going to distribute this first so that I can put it in standard form from the get-go. Okay, so this is negative 12w to the cubed plus 24w squared minus 120w. Now I'm going to distribute the 8. 8 times w squared is 8w squared minus 16w plus 80. And then we can just add it, and that way it's in standard form. So I have negative 12w cubed plus, what is that, 32w squared minus 136w plus 80. Okay? And that's our answer. Seems a lot worse than it really was. Okay? So let's look at 19. Now the thing that people forget is when we're dividing this by when we're dividing this polynomial by this monomial, we divide each term by this. So remember, we divide the numbers and we subtract the exponents. So I'm going to do negative 42 x to the 10 y to the 5th divided by 6x squared y to the 1. I'm putting a 1 there on purpose because I always forget. So I have 12x to the 8th y to the 3rd divided by 6x squared y. And then I have minus 6x squared y divided by 6x squared y. All right, so negative 42 divided by 6 is a negative 7. Now, when I'm dividing these, I'm subtracting the exponent. So I do 10 minus 2 is 8. So that's going to be x to the 8th. And 5 minus 1 is 4. So y to the 4th. Okay. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 8 minus 2 is 6. 3 minus 1 is 2. Now, before you say this is 0, anything divided by itself is 1. Please don't make that mistake. It's a very common mistake, but make sure that you do not do that. Okay? If you want to, go ahead and try number 20 and pause the video and just check your work. Otherwise, just follow along with me. Okay. So I'm going to do 16a to the 4th divided by 12a cubed minus 40a squared divided by 12a cubed plus 24a divided by 12a cubed. Now, when you are dividing by something that has a larger degree on the bottom, that's just a way of telling you that that variable is going to end up on the bottom and not on the top. You're going to have a negative exponent, but you don't have to deal with it really. Don't overthink it. So the first thing I'm going to do is reduce 16 divided by 12. Well, they're both divisible by 4, so that's going to be 4/3. And a to the 4 minus 3 is just a. So it's 4a over 3. Now, I'm going to do a minus right here, and 4 divided by 12 is just 1 over 3. Now, let me show you that normally if it's bigger on the top, the a ends up on the top, but here is on the bottom. So just do this. 3 minus 2 is 1, so a to the 1 is going to be on the bottom. All right? As you guys get better and better at math, some of these rules that were so hard for you at the beginning start to become a little bit easier to swallow because you're going to just be able to do it. So here, 24 divided by 12 is 2. And I have a divided by a cubed. So that's a squared, but that's on the bottom. Okay? Because what I would do is a to the 1 minus 3. Sorry. 1 minus 3 is equal to a to the negative 2, and that's 1 over a squared, right? So instead of doing that, do this in your head, okay? The length, width, and height of a rectangular prism can be represented by these three binomials. Write an expression to represent the surface area of the prism. Okay, so remember it's 2 lengths plus 2 widths plus 2 heights. All right, So, I'm sorry, it's not surface area. So it's 2 times, oh mercy, it's going to be 2 times x plus 3 times x plus 7 plus 2 times x plus 7 times x minus 1 plus 2 times x minus 1 times x plus 3. Okay, so it's the area of the top, the bottom, and the sides. All right, it's kind of silly. So this is 2 times x squared plus 3x plus 7x plus 21 plus 2 times x squared plus 7x minus 1x minus 7 plus 2 times x squared plus 3x minus 1x minus 3. All right, so this becomes 2 times x squared plus 10x plus 21 plus 2 times x squared plus 6x minus 7 plus 2 times x squared plus 2x minus 3. Distribute the 2's. So we have a 2x squared plus 20x plus 42. I'm going to be lining up my like terms here. Plus 2x squared plus 12x minus 14. Plus 2x squared plus 4x minus 6. So this ends up being 6x squared, 36x plus 36x, 42 minus 20 is plus 12. And there's your answer. Okay, so the area of a triangle can be best represented by this. If the base is 7x squared, write an expression to represent its height. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And that's equal to, we've got 14x to the 5th plus 63x squared. And the base is equal to 1/2 the base, which is 7x squared times the height. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply everything by 2 to get rid of this 1/2. So this is going to be 28x to the 5th plus 126x squared. So now I divide everything by 7x squared. So this becomes 4x to the 3rd plus, 126 divided by 7, 18. And the x squareds cancel out, so that is equal to your height. All right, so we're about at 25 minutes. We went a little over. I apologize for that, but hopefully this helps you. You only have this front part to do. All right, so hopefully you guys can finish that pretty easily and make sure you turn them in. All right, thanks, guys. Talk to you later.